Hello and welcome to our Midweek at Chisago Lake Earth Day edition. I'm Pastor Taryn Montgomery. And one of you had mentioned that watching our church videos was kind of like wondering, where's Waldo? Where's Pastor Taryn now? I'll give you a second to take a guess. Any ideas? I am on the shoreline of Pioneer Lake behind me here. The church is just above you, the camera. My tripod is actually a twig, so I hope it doesn't move on me. If I fall backwards, it's because I'm also on an incline, but I'm gonna do my best to stay in one place. This is actually right below the parking lot that is across from the sanctuary, the church building. And I didn't even know until a few months ago that it is owned by us, the congregation. So did you know we have lakefront property? Who knew the things that we have been gifted with and the different ways we can use it, like filming a little worship service here. Today is Earth Day. It's the 50th anniversary. And so I share with you a scripture reading as we think about what it means to care for God's earth and to be stewards of this gift that we have been given. This is from a reading from Job chapter 12, verses 7 through 10. But ask the animals, and they will teach you. The birds of the air, and they will tell you. Ask the plants of the earth, and they will teach you. And the fish of the sea will declare to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every living thing, and the breath of every human being. I have been watching and hearing spring arrive this year, perhaps in a way unlike I have in years before. Sitting in the parsonage and having a view of this corner of Pioneer Lake, I've been able to watch the ice as it slowly crept off the water's surface. Watch the green of the cemetery go from that brown to this deep, lush, rich color, showing that spring had arrived. The sounds of birds and among the feeders outside our window. Soon, as you're starting to see the buds on the trees, I have been noticing spring, perhaps in a way I haven't for a long time. I think this is true for us who live in a little bit more rural areas, but it's most certainly true for those who live in urban areas as well. One of my favorite reporters for National Public Radio, her name is Eleanor Beardsley. Perhaps it's just her voice, the sound of it, but she reports from Paris, France. And she was doing a story this weekend where she commented on sitting outside in the empty streets of Paris and along the Seine River. And as she was sitting there, she could hear the sound of egrets above. And she commented that in her years of reporting and living in Paris, she had never heard this sound before. She'd never heard it before. You see, with all of us who are indoors right now, Mother Earth and her creatures in many ways are able to fully inhabit their natural habitat in ways that they haven't for years. As we humans have stepped back, that means there's less cars, there's less pollution, there's less fumes, there's less noise to fill the air, and there's more room, there's more space for nature around us to step forward. And we kind of can't help but sit back and notice. This marks 50 years of Earth Day, today, April 22nd. I thought I'd do some research to figure out exactly what the history was behind Earth Day. And I tell you, I learned some things that are really encouraging and inspiring to me. I learned that it was started by a senator from Wisconsin named Gaylord Nelson. He was actually the governor before he became a U.S. senator. And he had a deep love and care for the conservation of the state that he called home. And much of that came from the St. Croix and Namakagon rivers that he grew up on. He came from Clear Lake, Wisconsin, just a stone's throw from where we are here in the Chisago Lakes area. And as he was elected to the U.S. Senate, he right away went to President JFK and he shared with him his real concern for creation and how we care for it. He even invited JFK to join him in the Apostle Islands in northern Wisconsin, which JFK did. And soon after, he realized that while it was important to give focus to this in a top-down way, that's not where real change was going to happen. And so he went and started what we now know as Earth Day, a grassroots movement so that you and I can start to raise awareness and have for the past 50 years of why caring for our Earth is so important. So important. And yet this Earth Day feels different for me. Just this morning, I had put together a little lesson plan for our kids on what Earth Day is, the history behind it, why we celebrate it. We even did a little craft to kind of focus on the recycling aspect of what it means to reduce and reuse and recycle and care for creation. That might be it. Or it might be the fact that these past 5 weeks of home isolation, I have noticed nature and creation outside my door, outside my window, and as I've been able to get out and enjoy it in a way I haven't, at least not recently. It may also be this global awareness that all of us, I hope, are stepping into, realizing that as we have stepped back, nature has been able to be nurtured. And isn't that something that we should care about? It might also be just learning more about Senator Nelson and the history of this day and how it came to be, and recognizing that it really kind of started so close to where we are right now. But I've also been thinking about the landscapes in my life. The landscapes, the places, the holy, sacred places where I have encountered the love of God, experience of Jesus Christ in and amongst the land and the inhabitants who call it home, beyond us humans. And I wonder if right now we haven't been able to have an opportunity to be in greater touch with those landscapes ourselves. I think about my parents' backyard growing up. I think about the farm my Oma and Opa lived off of and tended to sow for so many years that I got to enjoy and work with them. I think about the hill country in Texas where I went to college and driving those back roads. I think about Holden Village, a place that's near and dear to me and to my husband and to our family, and the mountains and the valleys of that landscape. I think of a lot of different places, including where we are right here on the shore of Pioneer Lake, and how this environment is becoming so sacred to my encounters with the holy. And I most certainly think about another place where my spiritual formation really took shape, Sugar Creek Bible Camp, just outside of Ferryville, Wisconsin. I went there from 4th grade on. I worked there all through college. My husband and I were married there. It is a place that is near and dear to my heart. It is a landscape that has shaped who I am. I think one of the potential possibilities from this whole coronavirus pandemic that we find ourselves in is that we have been given a chance to interact with the world around us in a way that we either haven't taken advantage of before, or we just haven't before. So I wonder, what is that sacred place to you? What is that place where you have encountered the holy? Where is it, and how has it been a part of your life? How have you befriended it? How has it befriended you? And what are you going to do differently today, starting now, to care for that place, to care for all of those places, to steward the sacredness of Mother Earth, this very sacred place? How are you going to be different or care for nature differently coming out of this pandemic than when you entered it? I know for myself, I feel a different conviction in this way now than I did before. So while this Earth Day is definitely momentous, 50 years, I also think it's meaningful for us, given the circumstances in which we find ourselves in the very year that this momentous 50th anniversary falls within. Because we have had a role in Earth's groaning over the years past, and the changes that have come about, not good ones. And we have a role to play in Earth's rebirth for years to come, signs of which are all around us every spring, but especially this spring. So let this be a time of learning for us and a motivator for us. For just as Job says and we profess, ask the animals, they will teach you. Ask the birds of the air, they will tell you. Ask the plants of the earth, and they will teach you, and the fish of the sea, who will declare to you. All of this which God has done. In his hand is the life of every living thing, and the breath of every human being. We are a part of something far bigger than ourselves. Let us live into that relationship with the creatures of the earth, with one another, and most certainly with the ground beneath our feet. I leave you with a sending blessing from John Donahue. He is John O'Donohue. He was an author, an essayist, a poet, a wonderful man who did a lot of work to connect us to our natural surroundings. And this comes from one of his books, Divine Beauty, The Invisible Embrace. Is it not possible that a place could have a huge affection for those who dwell there? Perhaps your place loves having you there. It misses you when you are away, and in its secret way rejoices when you return. Could it be possible that a landscape might have a deep friendship with you, that it could sense your presence and feel the care you extend towards it? Perhaps, your favorite place feels proud of you. Thanks be to God.